The security footage showed my wife of 12 years kissing another man in our kitchen at 2:56 p.m. on a Tuesday. Not a peck. Not a friendly hug gone wrong. Her hands were in his hair, his were gripping her waist, and they were moving together like they'd done this 1,000 times before. I sat in my car outside our house in Scottsdale, Arizona, watching the live feed on my phone. I'd installed the cameras 3 weeks ago after finding a receipt for a hotel room in Sedona, a hotel I'd never been to, on a weekend when Amanda said she was visiting her sister in California. The man wasn't a stranger. He was Tyler Brennan, my business partner's younger brother. 28 years old to Amanda's 35. Personal trainer. The kind of guy who posted shirtless photos on social media with captions about the grind and crushing goals. I watched them break apart. Amanda said something that made Tyler laugh. Then she pulled him toward the stairs, toward our bedroom, and they disappeared from the kitchen camera's view. My hands were steady as I switched to the bedroom camera feed. Some men might have looked away. Some men might have thrown the phone. I needed to see it. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. The feed loaded. Our bedroom. The bed Amanda and I had picked out together at that overpriced furniture store in Paradise Valley, where she'd insisted on Egyptian cotton sheets and a mattress that cost more than my first car. I watched for 30 seconds. That was enough. I turned off the phone and sat in silence, the Arizona heat making the car feel like an oven, even with the AC running. My reflection stared back at me from the rearview mirror. 42 years old, graying at the temples, the same face that looked back at me every morning. The face of a man who'd apparently been too stupid to see what was happening in his own house. We'd been married for 12 years, together for 14. We had 2 kids, Olivia, 10, and Jake, 7. I'd built a successful commercial real estate development company from nothing, working 70-hour weeks for the first 5 years. Amanda had been there from the beginning, back when we lived in a 900-square-foot apartment and drove used cars. Now we had the house in Scottsdale with the pool and the view of Camelback Mountain, the vacation home in San Diego, the kids in private school. Amanda drove a Range Rover and belonged to a country club where the initiation fee alone was $50,000. I'd given her everything she wanted. Apparently, it wasn't enough. The garage door was still closed. They didn't know I was home. I wasn't supposed to be back until Thursday. I told Amanda I had meetings in Denver. But the meetings had wrapped up early, and I'd caught a flight back this morning, planning to surprise her. Take her to that Italian restaurant she loved. Maybe rekindle something that had felt distant lately. Instead, I got this. I could have gone inside, confronted them, made a scene. Part of me wanted to. Part of me wanted to walk up those stairs and watch Tyler's face when he realized he'd been sleeping with a married woman whose husband had just caught them in the act. But I didn't, because I was already thinking 3 steps ahead. Arizona is a no-fault divorce state, which meant infidelity wouldn't technically matter in the divorce proceedings. But it would matter for custody. It would matter for the optics. And if I played this right, it would matter for the settlement. I started the car and drove away from my house, away from my cheating wife and her boy toy. I drove to my office downtown, a corner suite on the 18th floor with windows overlooking the city I'd helped build. My assistant, Patricia, looked surprised when I walked in. "Mr. Walsh, I thought you were in Denver until Thursday." "Change of plans," I said. "Hold my calls. I need a few hours." In my office, I pulled up the security footage on my computer and began downloading everything. Every camera, every angle, the kitchen, the bedroom, the living room. I had 3 weeks of footage stored on the cloud service. I downloaded it all to an encrypted hard drive. Then I started going through our finances. Bank statements, credit card records, investment accounts. I had access to everything. We'd always kept joint accounts, shared everything. Amanda had never been particularly interested in the money side of things. She just spent it. The hotel in Sedona wasn't the first one. There were charges going back 6 months. Hotels in Phoenix, Tucson, even one in Las Vegas. Always on weekends when I was traveling for work or when the kids were at their grandparents' house. I found charges for lingerie at boutiques I'd never heard of. Dinners at expensive restaurants on nights when Amanda had told me she was having girls' night with her friends. A jewelry purchase for $1,500. I'd never seen her wear anything new. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. "Hey babe, how's Denver? Miss you." I stared at the message. 3 little words and a lie. She was probably still in bed with Tyler, sending me texts to maintain the illusion while the evidence of her betrayal was literally still warm. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my contacts and scrolled to a name I'd hoped I'd never need. Gregory Ashford, the most ruthless divorce attorney in Phoenix. His retainer alone was $25,000, but he had a reputation for destroying opponents in court. I called his office. His secretary answered. "This is David Walsh," I said. "I need to schedule a consultation with Mr. Ashford as soon as possible. It's regarding a divorce." I sat in Gregory Ashford's corner office on the 18th floor, watching him review the encrypted hard drive I'd handed him 20 minutes earlier. His face remained neutral as he clicked through the footage. The only tell was his index finger, tapping once against the mahogany desk each time he advanced to a new file. "How many hours total?" he asked. 47 across 3 weeks. I've got timestamps, metadata, everything organized by date and location within the house. He nodded. Clicked to the financial records. His finger stopped tapping. "The Sedona charges are from when you were in Las Vegas for the Henderson project," he said. Not a question. "Correct. And Tucson while you were in San Diego with the kids." "Yes." Gregory closed the laptop, leaned back in his chair. He was 63, silver-haired, with the kind of calm that came from seeing every variation of human betrayal across 4 decades of family law. "Arizona is a community property state," he said. "No-fault divorce. The affair doesn't change the asset split." "I know. But it changes everything else." He tapped the laptop. "Custody evaluations consider moral fitness. A judge won't strip her of parental rights over an affair. But this pattern, the deception, the expenditure of marital funds, bringing him into the family home while the children were at school, it builds a narrative. What kind of timeline are we looking at? File this week. She'll be served within 10 days. We'll request temporary orders for custody and support. Given the evidence, I'd recommend we push for primary physical custody with you. Supervised visitation for her until the evaluation is complete. She'll fight it. Of course she will. But she's been living off your income for 12 years. She has no separate property, no career, no financial independence. And now we can demonstrate she's been systematically deceiving you while spending community assets on an extramarital relationship." He opened a leather portfolio, pulled out a retainer agreement. "My fee is $50,000 upfront. This will get expensive." "Money isn't the issue." "It never is, not at first." He slid the agreement across the desk. "But it becomes one when she hires someone equally expensive and we're burning through billable hours on discovery disputes and motion practice." I signed the agreement, wrote the check. "One more thing," Gregory said. "Don't do anything stupid between now and the filing. No confrontations, no revenge fantasies, no social media posts. You're the calm, rational parent who discovered his wife's infidelity and is proceeding through appropriate legal channels. Everything you do from this moment gets scrutinized." "Understood." "I mean it, David. I've seen men in your position torch their own cases because they couldn't resist the satisfaction of petty retaliation. Don't be that guy." I left his office at 4:15 p.m., drove to my own office downtown. Patricia had already left for the day. I sat at my desk, staring at the Camelback Mountain view, and made a list. The children were at my mother's house in Tempe. I'd told Amanda I had back-to-back meetings until 7 and suggested she take the evening for herself. She'd texted back a heart emoji and said she was meeting Jenna for dinner. There was no Jenna. There had never been a Jenna. I pulled up the home security feed on my phone. Amanda's Range Rover was gone from the driveway. The house was empty. I had 3 hours, maybe 4. I drove home, parked in the garage, walked through the kitchen where I'd watched them 3 days ago. The granite countertops were spotless. The espresso machine gleamed. No evidence remained of what had happened here. But I had evidence. 47 hours of it. I went to the garage, found the concrete mix I'd bought for the patio project last summer. 12 80-pound bags, still sealed. I loaded them onto a dolly and wheeled them to the backyard. The hot tub sat on the flagstone patio, its cover secured with clips. It was a Jacuzzi J480, top of the line, with LED lighting and a sound system. Amanda had insisted on it 2 years ago, cost $18,000 installed. I removed the cover. The water was crystal clear, heated to exactly 102 degrees. The control panel glowed in the early evening light. I thought about Gregory's warning, about doing something stupid, about torching my own case. Then I thought about Amanda in this tub, about Tyler Brennan in this tub, about the texts I'd found in the financial records, the ones she'd deleted from her phone but that still showed up on our cellular bill, the ones that mentioned your hot tub and when he's traveling, and bring the good champagne. I went back to the garage, got the garden hose, attached it to the tub's drain valve and ran it to the side yard. Opened the valve. The tub held 475 gallons. At the drain rate, it would take 90 minutes to empty completely. I sat on the patio furniture and watched the water level drop. The sun set behind the McDowell Mountains. The outdoor lights came on automatically at 7:30. The tub was half empty. My phone buzzed. Amanda. Running late. Don't wait up. XO. I didn't respond. At 8:45, the tub was empty. I disconnected the hose, opened the first bag of concrete mix, poured it into the tub's shell. The gray powder settled into the contours of the seats, the footwell, the filter housing. I added water from the hose, mixed it with a long-handled paint stirrer from the garage. The concrete turned to thick sludge, filling the spaces where jets and LED lights had created ambiance for my wife's affair. 12 bags, 600 pounds of concrete mix. I worked methodically, mixing each batch thoroughly, ensuring it filled every cavity and corner. The concrete rose to within 6 inches of the tub's rim. At 10:30, I smoothed the surface with a trowel. The concrete was the color of wet stone. It would cure over the next 72 hours, hardening into something permanent and immovable. I cleaned the tools, put everything back in the garage, washed my hands at the utility sink. The security camera in the backyard had recorded everything. I logged into the system from my phone and deleted the footage from 6 p.m. onward. Deleted the backup files, cleared the cache. Gregory had told me not to do anything stupid, but he'd also told me that Arizona was a community property state, that the hot tub was a community asset, that I had as much right to it as Amanda did, and I'd exercised that right. I drove to my mother's house in Tempe. Olivia and Jake were already in bed. My mother met me at the door, her expression careful. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Filing for divorce this week," I said. "I'll need you to watch them for a few days while we sort out the initial logistics." She didn't ask why, didn't press for details, just nodded and squeezed my hand. "They can stay as long as you need." I kissed her cheek. Went upstairs to check on the kids. Olivia was asleep with a book on her chest. Jake had kicked off his covers. I tucked him back in, moved Olivia's book to her nightstand, and stood in the doorway for a long moment. This was what mattered. Not the house or the hot tub or the money Amanda had spent. These two. I drove back to Scottsdale. Amanda's Range Rover was in the driveway when I arrived at 11:40. The lights were on in our bedroom. I parked in the garage, walked inside. She was in the bathroom, removing her makeup. "Hey," she said, meeting my eyes in the mirror. "Thought you'd be asleep already." "Long day," I said. "Tell me about it." "Jenna's going through her own drama. Took forever at dinner." I nodded. Went to the bedroom, changed into sleep clothes, got into bed. Amanda joined me 15 minutes later, kissed my shoulder, settled onto her side of the mattress. "Love you," she said. I didn't respond. Waited until her breathing deepened and slowed. Then I stared at the ceiling and counted the hours until Gregory filed the paperwork. 47 hours of footage, 6 months of financial records, and now 475 gallons of concrete curing in the backyard. Gregory was right. Arizona was a no-fault state. The affair wouldn't change the asset split, but it would change everything else. The concrete set overnight. By morning, the hot tub had become a 4-ton monument to bad decisions, hers and potentially mine. I stood on the back patio at 6:47 a.m. with my coffee, staring at the smooth gray surface where jets and bubbles used to be. The Arizona sun hadn't yet turned brutal, but I could already feel the heat building. In a few hours, that concrete would be cooking at 140 degrees. My phone buzzed. Gregory. "Tell me you didn't do anything stupid." "Good morning to you too." "David, I'm serious. I woke up thinking about our conversation yesterday. You had that look." I took a sip of coffee. "What look?" "The look every man gets right before he torches his own case. Did you touch anything? Break anything? Move money around?" "I exercised my rights to community property." Silence on the other end. "Then, what does that mean?" "Nothing that affects the divorce." "David, I need to ask you something. Hypothetically." I watched a lizard skitter across the concrete surface. "If someone were to damage community property before filing, what's the actual exposure?" "Jesus Christ, what did you do?" "Hypothetically." Another pause. I heard him typing. Arizona law allows for what's called waste claims. If one spouse intentionally destroys or depletes marital assets, the court can award the other spouse their share of the value. So if you, hypothetically, destroyed something worth $18,000, she could claim $9,000 in the settlement. That's it? Plus, it makes you look unstable, vindictive, everything we don't want in a custody fight. His voice hardened. "What did you do?" "I'll call you back." I hung up before he could respond. $9,000. I'd spent more than that on her birthday party last year. The one where Tyler had been a guest, now that I thought about it. Amanda's friend Kristen had brought him. "He's so fun," Amanda had said. "We should have him train us." My phone rang again. Gregory. I declined the call. The sliding glass door opened behind me. I turned, expecting, I don't know what. Amanda had been at her mother's house last night. Or so she'd said. For all I knew, she'd been at Tyler's apartment in Tempe, the one I'd found the lease for in our bank statements. 900 square feet, $1,400 a month, paid from our joint account under fitness consulting fees. But it wasn't Amanda. It was Olivia. "Dad, why is the hot tub weird?" My daughter stood in her pajamas, holding her stuffed rabbit. She was too observant, always had been. At 10, she noticed everything. The tension at dinner, the nights I'd stayed late at the office, the way her mother's smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. "It's broken, sweetheart. I'm having it fixed." "It looks like cement." "That's part of the repair process." She walked closer, peering at the smooth gray surface. "Mom's going to be so mad. She loves the hot tub." "I know. Is that why you did it?" I looked at my daughter. really looked at her. She had Amanda's eyes but my analytical mind. Nothing got past her. Your mom and I need to talk about some grown-up things. You and Jake are going to stay at Grandma's for a little while longer. Are you getting divorced? The question landed like a punch. What makes you ask that? Kristen's parents got divorced last year. Her dad moved out first. Then her mom got really mad about their pool. This isn't about the pool, Olivia. The hot tub. Right. She sat down on one of the patio chairs, still holding her rabbit. Is it because Mom has a boyfriend? My coffee cup stopped halfway to my mouth. What? I saw her with a man at the mall 2 weeks ago. She said he was her trainer, but they were holding hands. She picked at a loose thread on her rabbit's ear. I didn't tell you because I thought maybe you knew. Like maybe it was okay. I set my coffee down carefully, very carefully. It's not okay, sweetheart, and I didn't know. Is he the reason? Yes. Good. She stood up. I didn't like him. He smiled too much. She went back inside, leaving me alone with the concrete and the rising sun and the realization that my 10-year-old daughter had been carrying this secret for 2 weeks. My phone buzzed again. Not Gregory this time. Amanda. Running late. Be home by 10. Can you make sure Jake's soccer stuff is ready? I stared at the text. The casual domesticity of it. The assumption that everything was normal. That I was still the husband who handled logistics while she did. Whatever she'd been doing. I typed back, we need to talk. Today. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Is everything okay? No. What's wrong? I didn't respond. Instead, I called Gregory back. Tell me you're calling to confess so I can do damage control. My daughter saw them together, 2 weeks ago, at the mall. He went quiet. How old? 10? That's actually helpful. Courts don't like children being exposed to affairs. Shows poor judgment. He paused. But it also means we need to move faster. If she's been parading him around in public with your kids nearby, we need to file before she gets smarter about it. I'm telling her today. Bad idea. File first. Tell her when she's served. Don't give her time to prepare. I'm done playing games, Gregory. I'm telling her today. Then do it somewhere public. A restaurant, coffee shop, somewhere she can't make a scene. He sighed. And for God's sake, don't mention the hot tub. Why would I mention the hot tub? Because men always confess to the dumbest things when they're angry. They think it'll hurt their wife to know they destroyed something she loved. All it does is hurt their case. I'll call you after. David. I hung up and went inside. Jake was in the kitchen, eating cereal and watching something on his iPad. He looked up when I entered. Can we go swimming today? Not today, buddy. Why not? The pool needs cleaning. What about the hot tub? That's broken. He shrugged and went back to his iPad. 7-year-olds were easier. They accepted explanations without digging deeper. I made another cup of coffee and sat at the kitchen island, the same place I'd sat 3 weeks ago when I found the receipt. The same place I'd sat for 12 years of marriage, drinking coffee and reading news on my phone while Amanda slept in. She'd be home in 2 hours. I needed to decide where to do this. Gregory was right about public being safer, but part of me wanted her to see the hot tub first. Wanted to watch her face when she realized what I'd done. That was the anger talking. The part of me that wanted her to hurt the way I'd hurt watching that security footage. Watching her with him in our bed, our kitchen, our home. But Olivia's words kept echoing. Are you getting divorced? This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about my kids. About making sure they didn't grow up thinking this was normal. That infidelity and lies were just part of marriage. I pulled up my phone and found a coffee shop in Old Town Scottsdale. Public, neutral, 20 minutes from the house. Then I texted Amanda, meet me at Copper Star Coffee at 11. Don't be late. The three dots appeared immediately. Why? What's going on? 11 a.m. We'll talk then. I silenced my phone and went upstairs to shower. The water ran hot, almost scalding. I stood under it and let it burn, thinking about the concrete setting in the backyard, about the $18,000 I'd just converted into a useless gray monument, about Gregory's warning and Olivia's question and Amanda's text asking what was wrong. Everything was wrong. But in 3 hours, I'd start making it right. The concrete had set overnight. I stood in the backyard at 6:30 in the morning, coffee in hand, staring at what I'd created. 4 tons of permanent testimony. My phone buzzed. Gregory Ashford. Tell me you didn't do anything stupid after we talked yesterday. I took a sip of coffee. Define stupid. David. I filled the hot tub with concrete. Silence. Then, how much concrete? 600 pounds of mix, maybe 700. I emptied everything in the garage. Jesus Christ, he exhaled slowly. That's destruction of marital property. She can use that against you in court, make you look unstable, vindictive. I know. Then why? Because I needed her to understand something. I watched the morning sun hit the gray surface. This isn't a negotiation. This isn't couples therapy. This is over. Photographs. Text them to me now. I need to assess the damage for disclosure. I took 3 pictures from different angles. The concrete had cured smooth, level with the tub's rim. Almost professional looking. I sent them. Received, Gregory said. We'll claim temporary emotional disturbance. First-time offense, no criminal record, discovery of infidelity. A judge might show leniency. But David, no more improvisation. You follow my lead from here. Understood. The meeting this morning. You're still planning to confront her? I checked my watch. 4.5 hours until 11. Yes? Then stick to the script we discussed. No threats. No property discussion. You tell her you know, you tell her it's over, you leave. That's it. The papers get served tomorrow at 9 a.m. by a process server at the house. She'll have 72 hours to vacate or we file for exclusive occupancy based on the security footage. What about the kids? They stay with you. The footage of Brennan in the house while the children were present, combined with Olivia's statement about seeing them together. That's parental alienation and poor judgment. We'll get temporary custody, then push for primary in the settlement. The back door opened. Olivia stepped out in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. I have to go, I said. Remember, script only. See you at 2 for prep. I ended the call. Olivia walked over, stopped next to me, stared at the hot tub. What happened to it? I broke it. She tilted her head, studying the gray surface. On purpose? Yes. Because of Mom and that man? My chest tightened. Yes. She was quiet for a moment. Then, good. I hated seeing them together. I put my hand on her shoulder. You won't have to anymore. Are you and Mom getting divorced? Yes. When? Soon, maybe a few months? Will we still live here? You and Jake will, with me. Mom will live somewhere else. Olivia nodded slowly. Okay. She leaned against my side. Can we get pancakes for breakfast? Absolutely. Amanda came home at 9:15. I heard her car in the driveway, then her footsteps through the house. The back door opened. David, what the hell happened to the hot tub? I was sitting at the kitchen table, laptop open, reviewing a commercial lease agreement. Didn't look up. I filled it with concrete. You what? You heard me. She appeared in the doorway, still in her yoga pants and tank top from wherever she'd spent the night. Her face was flushed, eyes wide. Are you insane? That cost $18,000. I closed the laptop, met her eyes. I know exactly what it cost. I wrote the check. You can't just, you destroyed it. Why would you? Where were you last night? She stopped, blinked. What? Simple question. Where did you sleep last night? I told you. Girls' night at Rebecca's. We had wine. It got late. Rebecca's in Tucson visiting her sister. Has been since Monday. The color drained from her face. She came back early. I must have gotten the dates confused. Stop. I stood up. I'm meeting you at Copper Star Coffee at 11 o'clock. Be there. What is this about? 11 o'clock. Don't be late. I grabbed my keys and walked past her, out the front door. Got in my car, drove. Copper Star. Coffee sat in a strip mall off Scottsdale Road, generic and public. Neutral territory. I arrived at 10:45, ordered black coffee, took a corner table with a view of the entrance. Amanda walked in at 11:03. She'd changed clothes. Sundress, sandals, hair pulled back. Trying to look casual, but I could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her eyes scanned the room before landing on me. She sat down across from me. No coffee, no pretense of normalcy. What's going on, David? I pulled out my phone, opened the folder of screenshots, turned it toward her. Security camera footage, timestamps, her and Tyler in the kitchen, the living room, the bedroom. She stared at the screen. Her mouth opened slightly, closed, opened again. How long have you been? 3 weeks of active surveillance, 6 months of receipts and bank statements. I swiped to the next image. Tyler's car in our driveway. Hotel stays in Sedona, Tucson, Vegas. Lingerie purchases, dinners at restaurants we've never been to together. Her hand went to her mouth. David, I can explain. No. I pulled the phone back. You can't. There's no explanation that changes what I saw. What Olivia saw. Olivia? Her voice cracked. She can't. She saw you holding hands with him at the mall 2 weeks ago. She's known longer than I have. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. Oh God, David, please, I made a mistake. It was stupid. It didn't mean anything. 6 months isn't a mistake. It's a choice. Multiple choices. Every hotel room, every lie, every time you brought him into our house while our children were upstairs, those were choices. I'll end it, right now. I'll never see him again. We can go to counseling, we can fix this. We're not fixing anything. I leaned forward. I've retained Gregory Ashford. Divorce papers get served tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. You have 72 hours to move out of the house. You can't kick me out. It's my house, too. I have 47 hours of security footage showing your affair partner in our home, around our children. I have Olivia's statement. I have 6 months of financial evidence. Gregory says we'll get exclusive occupancy within a week. She was crying now, mascara running. What about the kids? They stay with me. You'll get visitation. Supervised at first, probably, given the circumstances. Supervised? David, they're my children. Then you should have thought about that before you brought your boyfriend into their home. I stood up. Tomorrow at 9, be ready. Wait. She grabbed my wrist. Please, can we just talk about this? Really talk? I looked down at her hand on my arm. She let go. There's nothing left to talk about, Amanda. This marriage ended 6 months ago. I just didn't know it yet. I walked out of the coffee shop, got in my car, sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel. My phone rang. Unknown number. David Walsh. Mr. Walsh, this is Tyler Brennan. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. How did you get this number? Amanda's phone. Listen, man, I think we should talk. No. Just hear me out. This whole thing, it's complicated. Amanda and I, we have real feelings for each other. This isn't just some fling. You're 28 years old. She's 35 with 2 children and a husband. There's nothing complicated about it. You're sleeping with a married woman. She told me the marriage was already over, that you two were basically roommates, Did she tell you that before or after you started meeting her in hotel rooms? Silence. Stay away from my family, I said. Stay away from my house. If I see you anywhere near my children, I'll file for a restraining order. You can't control who Amanda sees. Actually, once the divorce is finalized and I have primary custody, I can absolutely control who's around my children during her visitation. And trust me, a 28-year-old personal trainer who participated in an affair won't make the approved list. I ended the call, blocked the number. My hands were shaking. I started the engine, drove to the office, took the elevator to the 18th floor. Patricia looked up from her desk as I walked past. Mr. Walsh, you're 2 o'clock with Gregory Ashford. I'll be ready. I closed my office door, sat down, stared out at the Phoenix skyline. Tomorrow at 9, Amanda would be served. 72 hours after that, she'd be gone. 2 months, maybe 3, and the divorce would be final. The concrete in the hot tub would last decades. Long after Amanda moved out, long after the house sold, long after the lawyers finished dividing everything we'd built together. A monument to the end of 12 years. My phone buzzed. Text message from Amanda. Please don't do this. I love you. I love our family. Give me a chance to make this right. I deleted it without responding. There was nothing left to make right. The process server's name was Leonard Katz. He showed up at my office at 8:47 a.m. with confirmation. She took them at the front door, he said, sliding the signed affidavit across my desk. Didn't say a word, just grabbed the papers and slammed the door. I studied Amanda's signature on the proof of service. Her handwriting looked shaky. Any reaction? Her face went white. That's about it. Leonard picked up his check. You need anything else? You've got my number. 72 hours. Amanda had until Friday morning to clear out. I called the locksmith and scheduled him for Friday at noon. Then I texted my assistant Patricia to have the security system passwords changed that same day. My phone buzzed 20 minutes later. Amanda, we need to talk about this. Please. I deleted it. Another text came through. The kids don't deserve this. Think about what you're doing to them. I forwarded both messages to Gregory, then blocked her number. The office felt too quiet. I had 3 conference calls scheduled, 2 site inspections, and a zoning board meeting at 4. Work had always been my refuge. Now it felt like going through motions. Patricia knocked at 10:30. Your brother's online too. I'd been expecting this. Kevin had probably heard from Amanda already. David. His voice was careful. Amanda called me this morning. She's pretty upset. I'm sure she is. She said you filled the hot tub with concrete. That true? It is. Silence on the other end. Then, Jesus, Dave. She's got 72 hours to move out. After that, I don't want to hear her name. Look, I'm not defending what she did, but the kids saw her holding hands with him at the mall 2 weeks ago. Olivia told me herself. I kept my voice level. So don't lecture me about the kids. Kevin exhaled. Fair enough. You need anything? I need people to stop telling me to think about what I'm doing. I've thought about nothing else for 3 weeks. All right, I'm here if that changes. I hung up and stared at the skyline. 18 floors below, people moved through their normal Wednesday. Traffic crawled on Central Avenue. The city baked under October sun that still hit 95 degrees. My phone rang again at noon. Unknown number. Mr. Walsh, this is Diane Pritchard. I'm an attorney representing Amanda Walsh. That was fast. She retained you this morning? About an hour ago. I'd like to discuss a temporary custody arrangement while we work through the divorce proceedings. Talk to Gregory Ashford. He's handling everything. Mr. Walsh, I think we can keep this civil if… Ms. Pritchard, your client spent 6 months sleeping with a 28-year-old in my bed, my vacation home, and half the hotels between here and Sedona. She used my credit cards to buy him a Rolex. Civil ended when I found 47 hours of security footage. I paused. Anything else goes through Gregory. I ended the call and forwarded her number to my attorney. Gregory called back 15 minutes later. Diane Pritchard just reached out. She's good, but she's not miracle worker good. He sounded pleased. Amanda's scrambling. Probably just realized what she's up against. What's her angle? She wants temporary custody during the proceedings. Standard move. Establish status quo, then argue for primary custody in the final settlement. Papers rustled in the background. She's also going to push for spousal support and probably claim the concrete hot tub shows you're unstable. Can she get it? The support? Maybe temporary. But with your documentation and Arizona being a no-fault state, she's not getting anything close to half. The affair doesn't legally matter for property division, but it matters for everything else. He paused. The hot tub thing is stupid, though. I told you that yesterday. Noted. Diane's going to want a meeting. You, me, her, Amanda. Hammer out temporary arrangements before this gets ugly. It's already ugly. Uglier then. You want to do it? I thought about sitting across a table from Amanda, watching her play the victim, listening to her attorney paint me as the bad guy for not rolling over while she destroyed our marriage. When? I'll set it up for tomorrow. My office, 2 p.m., gives everyone time to prepare. Fine. I spent the afternoon at a construction site in Tempe, watching a crew frame out a mixed-use development I'd been planning for 2 years. Concrete and rebar. Steel beams lifting into place. Problems that had solutions. The site supervisor walked me through the timeline. We were 3 days ahead of schedule. Weather's been good to us, he said. If it holds, we'll have the shell done by Thanksgiving. I nodded, only half listening. My phone had buzzed 6 times in the past hour. I didn't check it. By the time I got back to my car, the sun was dropping toward the horizon. Phoenix turned golden in that brief window between brutal heat and darkness. I finally looked at my phone. 3 texts from Kevin. 2 from my mother. 1 from a number I didn't recognize. Kevin's messages were all variations of, "Call me when you can." My mother's were worse. Kevin told me what happened. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Do you want me to come down?" The unknown number was Tyler. "I know you don't want to hear from me, but Amanda's falling apart. She made a mistake. We both did. Can we please talk?" I stared at that message for a full minute. Then I called Gregory. "Tyler Brennan just texted me. How do I get a restraining order?" "What did he say?" I read him the message. "That's not enough for a restraining order. No threat, no harassment pattern. Just block him." Gregory's chair creaked. "Unless he keeps contacting you after you tell him to stop, then we've got something." I typed out a response. "Contact me again and I'll pursue legal action. This is your only warning." Sent it, then blocked the number. At home, I walked through rooms that felt too big. The kids wouldn't be back until Saturday. Amanda had them this week, per our usual schedule. That would change after tomorrow's meeting. I ordered takeout I didn't eat and went through the security footage one more time. Not because I needed to see it again, because I wanted to make sure every file was backed up, every timestamp documented, every angle captured. Gregory was right about the hot tub. It was stupid, impulsive, the kind of move that could hurt me in court. But God, it had felt good. I pulled up the camera feed from the backyard. The concrete had cured over the past 2 days. The hot tub was now a 4,000-pound monument to the end of my marriage. Tomorrow, I'd sit across from Amanda and negotiate custody of our children like we were hammering out a business deal. She'd probably cry. Her attorney would talk about reconciliation, about thinking of the kids, about how rash decisions made in anger rarely served anyone, And I'd sit there with my documentation and my evidence and my concrete-filled hot tub, and I'd take my kids back from a woman who threw away 14 years for a personal trainer with good abs and an Instagram following. My phone buzzed one more time. Kevin. Mom's worried. Call her, please. I looked at the time. 9:23 p.m. Too late for the conversation my mother would want to have. I texted back, I'm fine. We'll call tomorrow after the meeting. Then I turned off my phone, poured 3 fingers of scotch I'd been saving for a deal that closed last month, and sat in the dark living room where I'd watched my wife betray me on a security feed 3 weeks ago. Tomorrow would be worse. But tonight, at least, I didn't have to pretend. The meeting with Amanda's attorney happened on a Thursday morning in a conference room that smelled like furniture polish and desperation. Gregory sat beside me, yellow legal pad already half filled with notes. Across the mahogany table, Diane Pritchard arranged her materials with the precision of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Mid-50s, steel gray hair pulled back tight, reading glasses on a chain. She looked like she ate men like me for breakfast. Amanda sat next to her, wearing a navy dress I'd bought her last Christmas. $1,200. The irony wasn't lost on me. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Let's establish ground rules, Diane began, her voice crisp. My client is willing to negotiate in good faith, but we need to address the vandalism issue first. Vandalism, Gregory's eyebrow lifted. Mr. Walsh disposed of his own property on his own land. Community property, Diane corrected. Purchased during the marriage with marital funds. The hot tub was valued at $18,000. My client is entitled to half that value, which your client deliberately destroyed. I kept my face neutral. We'd anticipated this. The concrete can be removed, Gregory said smoothly. The tub restored or replaced. We're willing to address that in the settlement. Diane made a note. There's also the matter of the locks being changed without notice, denying my client access to her home. Temporary residence was offered. Mrs. Walsh chose to stay with friends. After being served with 72 hours' notice and humiliated in her own driveway, Gregory didn't blink. After conducting an extramarital affair in the marital home, exposing the minor children to her paramour, and spending approximately $47,000 in marital funds on hotels, gifts, and personal expenses related to said affair, Amanda flinched. First real reaction I'd seen from her. Diane's expression didn't change. Arizona is a no-fault state. The affair is irrelevant to asset division. But highly relevant to custody, Gregory countered, which is our primary concern. Your client filled a hot tub with concrete in a fit of rage. You want to discuss judgment? I leaned forward. I want to discuss my daughter telling me she saw her mother holding hands with a 28-year-old boy at the mall, while I was working to pay for everything she owns. Amanda's head snapped up. Her eyes were red, makeup carefully applied but not quite hiding the circles underneath. David, Mrs. Walsh, Diane cut her off with a hand on her arm. Let me handle this. No. Amanda pulled away from her attorney. No, I need to say this. Diane sighed but sat back. Amanda's voice shook. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but I'm their mother. You can't just take them away from me. You took yourself away from them, I said. Every time you drove to Sedona, every Tuesday and Thursday at the gym, every lie you told them about where you were. I love them. You love what they represent, the perfect family, the image. I kept my tone level, clinical. But you couldn't actually be faithful to it. Her face crumpled. Real tears this time, not the practiced kind. Diane cleared her throat. Perhaps we should focus on the practical matters. Mrs. Walsh is proposing a 60-40 custody split, with the children primarily residing with her during the school week. Gregory shook his head. Unacceptable. Mr. Walsh seeks primary physical custody with reasonable visitation for Mrs. Walsh. On what grounds? Documented poor judgment. Exposure of minors to extramarital relationship. The 10-year-old witnessed hand-holding, Diane interrupted. Not exactly traumatic? Witnessed her mother lying to her father. Witnessed deception. That's the trauma. Diane shuffled papers. Let's discuss assets. The house is valued at $1.2 million. Mortgage of $300,000. Equity of $900,000. My client is entitled to half. The house stays with primary custody, Gregory said, for stability of the children. Then Mr. Walsh buys out her equity share. With what liquidity? His assets are tied up in commercial properties and development projects. Diane smiled thinly. Then perhaps he should consider selling one. The negotiation continued for 2 hours. Back and forth, line by line, dismantling 12 years of marriage into spreadsheet rows. The vacation home in San Diego. The retirement accounts. The car leases. Amanda's jewelry. The country club membership. Every item had a price. Every memory, a dollar value. Around 11:30, Diane called for a break. Amanda followed her into the hallway. Gregory and I stayed in the conference room. She's going to push for 50-50 custody, he said quietly. Standard in Arizona unless we can prove unfitness. The affair isn't enough, not by itself. He tapped his pen against the legal pad. We need more. Documentation of her putting the children at risk. Neglect. Substance issues. Something concrete. I don't have anything like that. Then we're looking at joint custody, likely equal parenting time. My jaw tightened. That's not acceptable. It's reality. Gregory's expression was sympathetic but firm. Unless something changes, the best we can negotiate is primary physical custody with generous visitation. Maybe 60-40, possibly 55-45. Through the glass wall of the conference room, I could see Amanda and Diane talking near the elevators. Amanda was crying again, gesturing with her hands. Diane looked unmoved, professional. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia at the office. Tyler Brennan in lobby. Says he needs to speak with you. Should I call security? I stared at the message. The audacity was almost impressive. Problem? Gregory asked. The boyfriend showed up at my office. His eyebrows rose. Do not engage with him. That's critical. Any confrontation could be used against you. I typed back, have security escort him out. If he returns, call police. 3 dots appeared, then, understood. The door opened. Diane and Amanda returned, Amanda's eyes freshly dabbed with tissue. My client would like to make a statement, Diane said. Gregory tensed beside me. Amanda took a breath. I want to propose something. We split custody 50-50, week on, week off. I keep the San Diego house, you keep the Scottsdale house. We divide the retirement accounts equally, and I'll sign a clause agreeing not to introduce the children to any romantic partner for at least 1 year. It was more reasonable than I'd expected, which made me suspicious. What about the equity in the Scottsdale house? Gregory asked. I'll defer my claim for 3 years, Amanda said, to give David time to arrange financing, with interest at prime rate. Diane looked slightly surprised, which told me this wasn't her strategy. This was Amanda's. And spousal support? Gregory pressed. $2,000 a month for 5 years, Amanda said. Non-modifiable. Gregory glanced at me. In Arizona, she could probably get more. The offer was reasonable. Too reasonable. I need to consult with my client, Gregory said. We stepped into the hallway. Through the glass, I watched Amanda sitting perfectly still, hands folded in her lap. It's a good offer, Gregory said quietly. Better than I expected to get. The 1-year moratorium on introducing partners is smart. Shows she's thinking about the kids. A judge would like that. She's setting herself up to look reasonable. Yes. Which means if we reject this and push for more, we look unreasonable. He met my eyes. This is probably as good as it gets, David. 50-50 custody is standard. The financial terms are fair, arguably favorable to you. I looked back through the glass. Amanda was watching us now, her expression unreadable. She gets to walk away, I said. After everything, she gets half. That's how divorce works. Gregory's tone was gentle but firm. Even when someone's at fault, even when it's unfair. My phone buzzed again. Patricia. He left. Security has his photo. Won't be allowed back in the building. Small victory. Meaningless in the scope of what I was losing. Counteroffer, I said. 60-40 custody in my favor. She gets the San Diego house, but I want first right of refusal on the children's time. If she can't take them during her scheduled days, I get them before she arranges other childcare. Gregory nodded slowly. That's reasonable. Anything else? The 1-year moratorium on partners becomes 2 years, and it applies to both of us. You planning on dating? No, but I want it equal. We returned to the conference room. Gregory presented the counteroffer. Diane and Amanda huddled, whispering. Finally, Amanda looked up. 60-40 is acceptable if we alternate major holidays and split spring break. And I want the moratorium to be 18 months, not 2 years. Done, I said, before Gregory could respond. Amanda's shoulders sagged slightly. Relief, maybe, or exhaustion. We'll draft the agreement, Diane said. Have it ready for review by Monday. The meeting ended with handshakes, professional and cold. Amanda stood, gathering her purse. At the door, she paused, turned back. David. I looked at her. I'm sorry, I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am. I didn't respond. After a moment, she left. Gregory packed his briefcase. You did well. Stayed calm, didn't take the bait. Doesn't feel like winning. It's not supposed to. He snapped the briefcase shut. It's supposed to feel like surviving. I stood in the empty house on a Saturday morning 6 months later, watching the moving truck pull away. The last of Amanda's things, boxes she'd stored in the garage, furniture from the guest rooms, the artwork she'd picked out for the hallway, were finally gone. The divorce had been finalized 3 weeks ago. Judge Catherine Mills had signed the decree on a Tuesday afternoon, and just like that, 12 years became a legal document filed with the Maracade County Superior Court. Amanda got the San Diego house, half the retirement accounts, and $2,000 a month for 5 years. I got primary custody, the Scottsdale house, and my business. The concrete-filled hot tub had cost me $9,000 in the settlement, her half of its value. She'd never asked me to remove it. The kids adjusted better than I'd expected. Olivia understood more than she let on, asking careful questions about where Mom would live and whether we'd ever eat dinner together again. Jake just wanted to know if he could still have his birthday party at the trampoline park. I'd said yes to the party, no to the dinners. Amanda moved to San Diego permanently, taking a job at a yoga studio near the beach. The relationship with Tyler had ended badly. She'd told me that during one of our custody exchanges, her voice flat and tired. I hadn't asked for details, didn't care. The kids spent alternating weekends with her, plus half the summer. The first time I'd dropped them off at her new apartment, a modest 2-bedroom in Pacific Beach, Olivia had hugged me hard and whispered, "You can come get us any time." I'd told her I'd be there Sunday at 6, just like we'd agreed. Now I walked through the house, my footsteps echoing in rooms that felt different without Amanda's presence. Not better or worse, just different. The kitchen where I'd watched the security footage. The bedroom where I'd seen the affair unfold. The backyard where the hot tub sat, still filled with concrete, a gray monument I'd eventually have to deal with. My phone buzzed. Kevin. Still on for lunch? I typed back, yeah. Noon at the usual place. The usual place was a diner in Tempe we'd been going to since we were kids. Vinyl booths, mediocre coffee, and a waitress named Dolores who'd been there for 30 years and still called us the Walsh Boys. I met Kevin at 12:15. He was already in our booth, coffee in hand. "You look like hell," he said. "Thanks. I mean it. When's the last time you slept?" I slid into the booth. "I sleep. How much?" "Enough?" Dolores appeared with a pot of coffee and a knowing look. "The usual? Please." She poured my coffee and disappeared. Kevin studied me across the table. "The divorce is done," he said. "The custody's settled. The business is thriving. So why do you look worse now than you did 6 months ago?" I wrapped my hands around the coffee mug. "You ever win something and still feel like you lost?" "Every day of my marriage," Kevin grinned. "But seriously, talk to me. I got everything I wanted, the kids, the house, my business intact." I stared into the black coffee. "And it all feels hollow. Because you're lonely." "I'm not lonely. I've got the kids. I've got work. David, you're 42 years old, divorced, and your only social interaction is custody exchanges and business meetings. That's the definition of lonely." Dolores returned with our food. Eggs, bacon, toast, the same breakfast we'd been ordering for 20 years. I picked at my eggs. "I'm not ready to date." "I didn't say date. I said stop being alone." Kevin bit into his toast. "Join a gym. Take up golf. Do something that isn't work or kids." I filled a hot tub with concrete because my wife cheated on me. I'm not exactly prime social material. That's the thing, though. You're not that guy anymore. Kevin pointed his fork at me. That guy was angry and hurt and lashing out. You're just stuck now. Stuck in the aftermath. He wasn't wrong. The weeks after the divorce had been a blur of logistics. Updating bank accounts, refinancing the house, establishing new routines with the kids. I'd thrown myself into work, closing 2 major deals and breaking ground on a development in Tempe that would take 3 years to complete. But the quiet moments, early mornings before the kids woke up, late nights after they went to bed, those were harder. "I thought it would feel different," I said finally. "The divorce. I thought I'd feel free, maybe. Vindicated. And instead I feel like I burned down my whole life to prove a point." Kevin set down his fork. "You didn't burn it down. Amanda did. You just refused to live in the ashes." "Is there a difference?" "Yeah, there is." He leaned back. "Look, what she did was wrong. The affair, the lying, all of it. And you had every right to end it. But at some point, you've got to stop defining yourself by what she did and start figuring out who you are now." I drank my coffee. It was bitter and too hot, but I welcomed the burn. "The kids asked me last week if I was happy," I said. "What did you tell them?" "That I was working on it." Kevin smiled slightly. "That's honest, at least." We finished breakfast. Kevin paid. His turn, he insisted, and we walked out into the Phoenix heat. April in Arizona, already pushing 90 degrees. "You know what you need?" Kevin said, unlocking his car. "A project, not a work project. Something for you." "Like what?" "I don't know. Build something. Learn something. Just do something that isn't about the divorce or the business or being dad." He opened his car door. "Think about it." I drove home thinking about it. The house was empty. Kids wouldn't be back until tomorrow afternoon. I walked through to the backyard and stood looking at the hot tub. 4,000 pounds of concrete. 6 months of weathering. The surface had cracked in a few places from the heat expansion, small fissures running through the gray. I pulled out my phone and called a demolition company. "How soon can you remove a concrete-filled hot tub?" I asked when they answered. The guy on the other end laughed. "That's a new one. Let me get someone out there to look at it." Monday work? Monday's perfect. They came on Monday at 8 a.m. Two guys with a jackhammer, a small excavator, and a dump truck. It took them 4 hours to break up the concrete, extract the pieces, and haul away the debris. By noon, there was just a rectangular hole in my patio where the hot tub had been. "You want us to fill that in?" the foreman asked. I looked at the empty space. "No, I'll handle it." After they left, I stood at the edge of the hole, staring down at the dirt and gravel base. Then I called a landscaping company. "I need a garden," I said. "Something low maintenance. Desert plants, maybe a small fountain. Can you work with an 8x8 space?" The designer came out that afternoon. Her name was Rachel, mid-30s, with dirt under her fingernails and a portfolio of drought-resistant designs that actually looked good. "This is where the hot tub was?" she asked, studying the space. "Yeah." She didn't ask why I'd removed it, just nodded and started sketching. "We could do agave and barrel cactus here, some Mexican honeysuckle for color, a small bubbler fountain in the center, decomposed granite for the base. How long would it take?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. "Do it." She smiled. "You got it." The garden went in over the next 3 weeks. I watched it take shape from my office window during the day, checked the progress each evening when I got home. The kids were fascinated, helping Rachel place river rocks around the fountain, choosing which barrel cactus went where. "It's pretty, Dad," Olivia said, standing back to admire the finished product. "Way better than the hot tub." "You didn't like the hot tub?" She wrinkled her nose. "It smelled like chemicals, and Mom and that guy were always in it when we were supposed to be asleep." My chest tightened. "You knew?" "I heard them laughing out here, late at night." She shrugged. "I'm glad it's gone." Jake just wanted to know if he could put his action figures in the fountain. I told him yes, as long as he didn't lose them. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat on the patio with a beer and looked at the garden. Desert plants swaying slightly in the breeze. The fountain bubbling softly. No trace of what had been there before. Kevin had been right. I'd needed a project. Something that wasn't about anger or revenge or proving a point. Something that was just building something new. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hi, David. This is Rachel from Desert Dreams Landscaping. I know this is unprofessional, but would you want to grab coffee sometime?" No pressure. Just thought I'd ask. I stared at the message for a long moment. 18 months. That's how long the moratorium on introducing partners to the kids lasted. I had another year before I could even think about dating seriously. But coffee wasn't dating. Coffee was just coffee. I typed back, "Coffee sounds good. When works for you?" 3 dots appeared. Then, "Thursday morning? There's a place near my office in Old Town. Thursday works. Send me the address." I set down my phone and looked back at the garden, at the space where the concrete monument had been, at the new thing growing in its place. The divorce hadn't made me happy. The custody agreement hadn't made me whole. The settlement hadn't given me closure. But maybe that was the point. Maybe there was no single moment of resolution, no clean ending where everything made sense. Maybe it was just this. Small choices, made every day, to build something new instead of living in what had been destroyed. The fountain bubbled. The desert plants swayed. Inside, my children slept safely in their beds. And for the first time in 6 months, I felt something other than hollow. I felt like maybe, eventually, I'd be okay. 12 years of marriage had taught me that love wasn't enough. That trust, once broken, couldn't be rebuilt with apologies and promises. That some things once destroyed stayed destroyed. But they also taught me that endings weren't always final. That the space left behind could become something else. Something different. Maybe even something better. The concrete had been a monument to anger. The garden was something else entirely. It was a reminder that growth happened in the spaces we thought were ruined, that beauty could emerge from destruction, that the end of one thing was just the beginning of another. I didn't know if I'd fall in love again. Didn't know if I'd ever trust someone the way I'd trusted Amanda. Didn't know if the scars would ever fully fade. But I knew I'd survive this. Knew my kids would be okay. Knew that the life I was building now, smaller, quieter, more honest, was mine in a way the old one never had been. That was enough. For now, that was enough.